Getting ready to read some books here. Just a second. Getting these platforms ready. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna mention books I'm reading, but if you would like to know, you're always welcome to ask via email or direct message, either or. But I'm cooking, so I'm gonna finish up with that real quick. That's done with. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate everybody taking the um while I'm at it. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Truly appreciate you all. Truly thankful to have you all in the world, in your family's lives, in your kids' lives. A father figure is something that's very impactful, very influential to everyone, not just the children, but to everyone. As the head of the family, as the family base. So to have a father figure still alive and still around in your home is a huge deal today. With so much going on, and with people being lost and confused and down and out and just completely unstructured, unguided, unmotivated, uninspired. Having a strong, impactful father figure to lead, to turn to, and to go to is definitely a plus for sure in this life. And for everyone that has had fathers, who have passed on and who are no longer with us, may God have mercy on their souls. And I truly hope that, you know, the memories and the relationship that you guys did have was one of love and support and unconditional love and treatment, unlike so many. But we're gonna start, man. I'm gonna go ahead and start, get these books going. But such a blessing to be able to do this, be able to share, and be able to just give back a little bit in a world of just, like I said, such confusion and lost souls, man. So let's just go ahead and get going here. My head swam with the parroting faces of white people. The ones in Boston and the white-only dances at the Rosalind Ballroom where I shined their shoes. At the Parker House where I took their dirty plates back to the kitchen. The railroad crewmen and passengers. Sophia. The whites in New York City, the cops, the white criminals I dealt with, the whites who piled into the Negro speakeasies for a taste of Negro soul, the white women who easies for a taste of Negro soul, the white women who wanted Negro men, the men I'd stare to the black specialty sex they wanted, the fence back in Boston and his ex-con representative, Boston cops, Sophia's husband's friend and her husband, whom I'd never seen but knew so much about, Sophia's sister, the jeweler who'd helped trap me, the social workers, the Middlesex County court people, the judge who gave me 10 years, the prisoners I'd known, the guards, and the officials. A celebrity among the Norfolk prison colony inmates was a rich, older fellow, a paralytic called John. He had killed his baby, one of those mercy killings. He was a proud, big shot type, always reminding everyone that he was a 33rd degree Mason, and what powers Masons had that only Masons ever had been U.S. presidents, that Masons in distress could secretly signal to judges and other Masons in powerful positions. I kept thinking about what Reginald had said. I wanted to test it with John. He worked in a soft job. He worked in a soft job in the prison school. I went over there. John, in quotations. I said, "How many degrees in a circle?" He said 3,300. He said 360. I drew a square. "How many degrees in that?" He said 360. I asked him, "Was 360 degrees then the maximum of degrees in anything?" He said yes. I said, "Well, why is it that Masons go only to 33 degrees?" He had no satisfactory answer. But for me, the answer was that Masonry actually is only 33 degrees of the religion of Islam, which is the full projection, forever denied to Masons although they know it exists. Reginald, when he came to visit me again in a few days, could gauge from my attitude the effect that his talking had had upon me. He seemed very pleased. Then, very seriously, he talked for 2 solid hours about the devil white man and the brainwashed black man. When Reginald left, he left me rocking with some of the first serious thoughts I had ever heard in my life. That I ever had in my life. That the white man was fast losing his power to oppress and exploit the dark world. That the dark world was starting to rise to rule the world again, as it had before. That the white man's world was on the way down. It was on the way out. "You don't even know who you are," Reginald had said. "You don't even know. The white devil has hidden it from you. That you are a race of people of ancient civilizations and riches and gold and kings. You don't even know your true family name. You wouldn't recognize your true language if you heard it. You have been cut off by the devil white man from all true knowledge of your own kind. You have been a victim of the evil of the devil white man ever since he had murdered and raped and stole from your native land and the seeds of your forefathers. I began to receive at least 2 letters every day from my brothers and sisters in Detroit. My oldest brother, Wilfred, wrote, and his first wife, Bertha, the mother of his 2 children. Since her death, Wilfred has met and married his present wife, Ruth. Filbert wrote, and my sister Hilda and Reginald visited, staying in Boston a while before he went back to Detroit, where he had been the most recent of them to be converted. They were all Muslims, followers of a man they described to me as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a small, gentle man whom they sometimes referred to as the Messenger of Allah. He was, they said, a black man like us. He had been born in America on a farm in Georgia. He had moved with his family to Detroit, and there had met a Mr. Wallace D. Fard, who he had claimed was God in person. Mr. Wallace D. Fard had given to Elijah Muhammad Allah's message for the black people, who were the lost, found nation of Islam, here in this wilderness of North America. All of them urged me to accept the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Reginald explained that pork was not eaten by those who worshipped in the religion of Islam, and not smoking cigarettes was a rule of the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because they did not take injurious things such as narcotics, tobacco, or liquor into their bodies. Over and over, I read and heard, the key to a Muslim is submission, the attunement of one toward Allah, and what they termed the true knowledge of the black man that was possessed by the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was given shape for me in their lengthy letters, sometimes containing printed literature. The true knowledge, reconstructed much more briefly than I received it, was that history had been whitened in the white man's history books, and that the black man had been brainwashed for hundreds of years. Original man was black, in the continent called Africa, where the human race had emerged on the planet Earth. The black man, original man, built great empires and civilizations and cultures, while the white man was still living on all fours in caves. The devil white man, down through history out of his devilish nature, had pelagied, murdered, raped, and exploited every race of man not white. Human history's greatest crime was the traffic in black flesh when the devil white man went into Africa and murdered and kidnapped to bring to the West in chains, in slave ships, millions of black men, women, and children who were worked and beaten and tortured as slaves. The devil white man cut these black people off from all knowledge of their own kind, and cut them off from any knowledge of their own language, religion, and past culture, until the black man in America was the earth's only race of people who had absolutely no knowledge of his true identity. In one generation, the black slave women in America had been raped by the slave master white man until there had begun to emerge a homemade, handmade, brainwashed race that was no longer even of its true color, that no longer even knew its true family names. The slave master forced his family name upon this rape mixed race, which the slave master began to call the Negro. This Negro was taught of his native Africa that it was people by heathen black savages swinging like monkeys from trees. This Negro accepted this along with every other teaching of the slave master that was designed to make him accept and obey and worship the white man. And where the religion of every other people on earth taught its believers of a God with whom they could identify, a God who at least looked like one of their own kind. The slave master injected his Christian religion into this Negro. This Negro was taught to worship an alien God having the same blonde hair, pale skin, and blue eyes as the slave master. This religion taught the Negro that black was a curse. It taught him to hate everything black, including himself. It taught him that everything white was good, to be admired, respected, and loved. It brainwashed this Negro to think he was superior if his complexion showed more of the white pollution of the slave master. This white man's Christian religion further deceived and brainwashed this Negro to always turn the other cheek and grin and scrape and bow and be humble and to sing and to pray and to take whatever was dished out by the devilish white man and to look for his pie in the sky and for his heaven in the hereafter, while right here on earth the slave master white man enjoyed his heaven. Many a time I have looked back trying to assess just for myself my first reactions to all this. Every instinct of the ghetto jungle streets, every hustling fox and criminal wolf instinct in me, which would have scoffed at the rejected anything else, was struck numb. It was as though all of that life merely was back there, without any remaining effect or influence. I remember how sometime later, reading the Bible in Norfolk Prison Colony Library, I came upon, then I read over and over, how Paul on the road to Damascus, upon hearing the voice of Christ, was so smitten that he was knocked off his horse in a daze. I do not now and I did not then liken myself to Paul, but I do understand his experience. I have since learned, helping me to understand what then began to happen within me, that the truth can be quickly received or received at all only by the sinner who knows and admits that he is guilty of having sinned much. Stated another way, only guilt admitted accepts truth. The Bible again, the one people whom Jesus did not help were the Pharisees. They didn't feel they needed any help. They were very enormity of my previous life's guilt prepared me to accept the truth. Not for weeks yet, I would deal. Not for weeks yet would I deal with the direct personal application to myself as a black man of the truth. It still was like a blinding light. Reginald left Boston and went back to Detroit. I would sit in my room and stare. At the dining room table, I would hardly eat, only drink the water. I nearly starved. Fellow inmates, concerned, and guards, apprehensive, asked me what was wrong with me. It was suggested that I visit the doctor, and I didn't. The doctor advised visited me. I don't know what his diagnosis was. Probably that I was working on some act. I was going through the hardest thing, also the greatest thing for any human being to do, to accept that which is already within you and around you. I learned later that my brothers and sisters in Detroit put together the money for my sister Hilda to come and visit me. She told me that when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was in Detroit, he would stay as a guest at my brother Wilford's home on McKay Street. Hilda kept urging me to understand what it was to be in the white man's prison, she said, because he himself had not long before gotten out of the federal prison at Milan, Michigan, where he had served 5 years for evading the draft. Hilda said that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad came to Detroit to recognize his temple, number one, which had become disorganized during his prison time, but he lived in Chicago, where he was organizing and building his temple number two. It was Hilda who said to me, "Would you like to hear how the white man came to this planet Earth?" And she told me that key lesson of Mr. Elijah Muhammad's teachings, which I later learned was the demonology that every religion has, called Yaqub's history. Elijah Muhammad teaches his followers that first, the moon separated from the earth. Then, the first humans, original man, were a black people. They founded the holy city Mecca. Among this black race were 24 wise scientists. One of the scientists, at odds with the rest, created the especially strong black tribe of Shabazz, from which America's Negroes so-called descend. About 6,600 years ago, when 70% of the people were satisfied and 30% were dissatisfied, among the dissatisfied was born a Mr. Yaqub. He was born to create trouble, to break the peace, and to kill. His head was unusually large. When he was 4 years old, he began school. At the age of 18, Yaqub had finished all of his nation's colleges and universities. He was known as the big head scientist. Among many other things, he had learned how to breed races scientifically. The big head scientist, Mr. Yaqub, began preaching in the streets of Mecca, making such host of converts that the authorities, increasingly concerned, finally exiled him with 59,999 followers to the island of Patmos, described in the Bible as island where John received the message contained in Revelations in the New Testament. Though he was a black man, Mr. Yaqub embittered toward Allah now, decided as revenge to create upon the earth a devil race, a bleached out white race of people. From his studies The big-headed scientist knew that black men contained two germs, black and brown. He knew that the brown germ stayed dormant as being the lighter of the two germs. It was the weaker. Mr. Yakub, to upset the law of nature, conceived the idea of employing what we today know as the recessive gene structure to separate from each other the two germs, black and brown, and then grafting the brown germ to progressively lighter, weaker stages. The humans resulting, he knew, would be, as they became lighter and weaker, progressively also more susceptible to wickedness and evil. And in this way, finally he would achieve the intended bleached out white race of devils. He knew that it would take him several total color change stages to get from black to white. Mr. Yakub began his work by setting up a eugenics law on the island of Patmos. Among Mr. Yakub's 59,999 all-black followers, every third or so child that was born would show some trace of brown. As these became adult, only brown and brown or black and brown were permitted to marry. As their children were born, Mr. Yakub's law dictated that if a black child, the attending nurse or midwife should stick a needle into its brain and give the body to cremators. The mothers were told it had been an angel baby which had gone to heaven to prepare a place for her. But a brown child's mother was told to take very good care of it. Others' assistants were trained by Mr. Yakub to continue his objective. Mr. Yakub, when he died on the island at the age of 152, had left laws and rules for them to follow. According to the teachings of Mr. Elijah Muhammad, Mr. Yakub, except in his mind, never saw the bleached out devil race that his procedures and laws and rules created. I feel like I gotta keep going with that. Like, a 200-year span was needed to eliminate on the island of Patmos all of the black people until only brown people remained. The next 200 years were needed to create from the brown race the red race, which no more browns left on the island. With no more browns left on the island, in another 200 years, from the red race was created the yellow race. 200 years later, the white race had last been created. On the island of Patmos was nothing but these blonde, pale-skinned, cold, blue-eyed devils, savages, nude and shameless, hairy like animals. They walked on all fours and they lived in trees. 600 more years passed before this race of people returned to the mainland among the natural black people. Mr. Elijah Muhammad teaches his followers that within 6 months' time, through telling lies that set the black men fighting among each other, this devil race had turned what had been a peaceful heaven on earth into a hell torn by quarreling and fighting.